Hey everyone, friends. The Bavarian Prophet Alois Irlmaier became known after World War II when people discovered his amazing talent for finding their missing relatives during the war years. He was born and lived in Bavaria from 1894 to 1959. Thousands of people found their loved ones with his help, making Alois one of the most respected individuals of his time. His residence was near the local church, and the priest of that abbey noticed crowds passing by and lining up at Alois's house. The priest suspected something fishy and decided to accuse Irlmaier of fraud and lies. Soon, a trial was held where Irlmaier claimed to be a clairvoyant. The judge challenged him, saying that if he was clairvoyant, he should prove it right away. Alois then, in front of everyone, revealed that at that moment, his wife was drinking coffee at home in the company of a stranger. She was wearing a beautiful red dress, and they were happy together. The judge immediately sent an assistant to verify the defendant's words, and they turned out to be true. The judge then stood up and respectfully acquitted Alois. Since then, the police began to respect the prophet, seeking his help in investigations and searches. Irlmaier's visions began during World War II, and he initially thought they were all related to that era. However, that turned out not to be the case. After the war, Irlmaier's visions continued, but their nature changed. If earlier the prophet saw bombings and mountains of weapons, now the focus of his visions became the so-called yellow dust. In 1949, German newspapers first reported about the prophet who saw future war events. The consequences of the previous war were too heavy, and Irlmaier realized that his visions were not just random, they were meant to warn people about impending events. The prophet thought that all his visions of the future war were about the near future, and he accurately described everything he saw. After publishing an article consisting of several parts, journalists soon forgot about it because nothing like that was happening. There were no new conflicts, let alone the details described by Irlmaier. The big question remains, what was coming to the Bavarian prophet in his visions? Could it be events of a war that hadn't even occurred yet, such as the Third World War? Today, we will try to understand this because it has become apparent that Irlmaier's prophecies intersect with the visions of other known prophets and clairvoyants. So, what events did the Bavarian prophet describe for the future? He saw troops advancing from the east to Western Europe. Irlmaier wrote that China would covet India in the future and eventually decide to conquer it. But it wouldn't be that easy. Beijing, according to the seer, would decide to use a secret weapon that would wipe out 25 million people, the Indian population. Neighboring countries with India would also be affected by the consequences of such a method of fighting. Epidemics, hitherto unseen, would start erupting. People wouldn't understand how these epidemics could arise at all. But the root would be there, in the east. When they realize that there are no more problems there and the doors for conquest are open, the same weapon will turn against them. For some inexplicable reason, a disease will arise in Europe that will cause instant blindness and loss of reason in people. Remember what blessed Saint Matrona of Moscow said about this? People, as if hypnotized, will not belong to themselves. It seems she said the same thing that Irlmaier saw. Nature will immediately react to what is happening, and a rare phenomenon will occur. For 72 hours, the whole world will be plunged into darkness. It will be universal darkness, which will mark the beginning of the events to come. A quote from the words of the seer. Everyone spoke about peace, but suddenly the Great One fell. Next to him lies a knife. Two men took care of a person of high rank. One of them is a short brunette, the other is a blonde, slightly taller. They were hired to do this. When the Great One falls, the Middle East confrontation will begin. In the Mediterranean, there will be a battle of various naval forces. I see three numbers, continued Irlmaier, 2 8s and a 9. but I don't know what they mean, to which time they refer. The war will break out at dawn and will come suddenly. People will see strangers peering into doors and windows. It will be a black army from the east. Everything will happen very quickly. I also see a trio, but I don't know what it means. Maybe 3 days or 3 weeks. All of this concerns the Golden City. The year before the war will be very fruitful, and winter will be mild. Regarding the trio, let's recall the prophecy of the Italian Padre Pio, who also spoke of 3 amazing days, gave instructions, and described events worthy of a fantasy novel. Irlmaier pointed to 3 armies that would represent the united forces of Russia. So he wrote, Americans won't stay anywhere. They will strive day and night towards their goal. However, what the specific goal is not clear. Perhaps we will take on the role of liberators, as other predictions about the future of Russia and America suggest. Next, Alois writes that cars will block the roads. He sees them hindering the passage of tanks, and the earth is like a giant ball with air routes for planes. They fly from bottom to top, like pigeons. And here's another unusual message from Alois, written in an interview. Retribution will come immediately from the great waters. At the same time, yellow smoke will reach Alaska and Canada. But it won't go far. Yellow ash falls down, and pigeons, trying to resist it, fly upward. In the warm night, when the Golden City is destroyed, a death strip will appear between the Black and North Seas, as planes will drop yellow dust there. The strip will be the size of half of Bavaria. Wherever that yellow dust is, no plant will grow, nothing living will remain. Insects, fish, animals, all will be engulfed by the yellow dust. Homes, however, will remain intact. When the yellow dust line reaches the city above the bay, remember, never cross that line for anything. Anyone who does will be buried forever. At that moment, the attacking armies will disintegrate because they won't be able to advance on the cities. They will be forced to go north and discard everything they brought with them. No one will return there. Then American supply will also end. The last sentence from Irlmaier further convinces us that the U.S. will gather a whole enormous army to help the affected, but due to circumstances, it won't be able to help everyone. The predictions continue. People inside tanks will turn black. Pilots will drop small black boxes, which, before reaching the ground, will explode. Yellow or greenish powder will reach the earth. This dust is so poisonous that bodies may turn black and separate from the bones. The poison will persist for a year. After that, people will be able to live in that area. But plants and insects, never again. Americans will be forced to relocate. Remember the prophecy of Edgar Cayce, the sleeping prophet who named the Salvation Place in western Siberia? Maybe that's it. I see a plane, Irlmaier said, flying from the east. It throws something into the great water, and then something amazing will happen. The water will rise so high that everything around will be flooded. When the pilot throws this thing into the water, England will disappear. I don't know what it is. There will be an earthquake, and 3 cities will be destroyed. The first by water, the second, only the church tower will be visible, and the third will be completely destroyed. Everything will happen very quickly. Irlmaier also spoke about 3 lines. What they mean is still unknown. Islands will disappear underwater, large holes will periodically appear in the sea, and waves as high as tall buildings will rise. The climate will change so much that mosquitoes will fly in January. But it's still far from that. First, people will see a new weather anomaly. Fiery hail dispersing yellow dust. You need to be at home, Irlmaier said, so as not to accidentally inhale it. Candle flames will help. You need to light candles in homes. Dust flies towards the light. During the hail, windows will need to be darkened. 72 hours. All this will continue in that long night, with casualties exceeding the losses in all recent wars. When the wind directs the clouds to the east, you can breathe out, but keep sitting at home, Irlmaier said. About Americans, the prediction is as follows. They will believe again, sing Christmas songs, and burn candles near icons. And this is by no means the only such prediction. It turns out that it is really worth thinking about. The question is only why the seer saw 2 8s and a 9? Maybe, for these events, the time has not yet come, and it relates to the year 2088 to 2089? Or can such numbers be deciphered differently? After all the events on earth, there will be no person who has not recognized the power of God. Everyone will believe and go to church, Irlmaier said. 3 shining crowns will rise to the throne. An old man will become the king for everyone. The seer concludes the prediction with words about a peaceful and happy time when the earth will be cleansed. People will live in peace and order again, overcoming the consequences of the cataclysm. What do you think about such a prediction? Do you believe that such events are possible on Earth? Write your thoughts in the comments, and please rate this video. It is very important for us. Subscribe to see more new videos.